Hans Horsting, we met a while ago, I would say, and you had this immediate connection with the International Festivals Association, which is now IFEA with the change of the names. And what was it that really kind of drew you to this?
Well, I worked in those days for the Rotterdam Chamber of Commerce, and we found out that Rotterdam had no festivals, no big events. And events and festivals do a lot to the economic and social life in a city. And we looked around in the world and saw that in the United States there was an international festival association. There were thousands of festivals promoting and economic made strongly the cities. So the Chamber of Commerce in Rotterdam said, well, Hans, go to the United States, find out how they did it, why they did it, and what can we do in our city to promote festivals, big events, etc., with an economic foundation, because the Chamber of Commerce was to entrepreneurs. And that's the reason why I went, and I found out that there's a big difference between festivals, and it's still the same, festivals in the United States and in our country and other than Europe. In the States it was private business. From the beginning on, festivals were private business. Here in the Netherlands, the festivals which existed were financed by subsidy of the government, subsidy of the city council, etc. And that's the reason I fear, but Wim can tell more about it because he was an employee of the city. That's the reason why festivals don't succeed. They were too much subsidized, too much government. And that's the reason why we said, let's make a new foundation between the city council, the city government, and private enterprise, Rotterdam Festivals, to promote the festival industry in this city. And so it started, and because the United States had already a strong international festival association, we copied it more or less here. But with a different structure, I said to you, it was a working together between the city government and private enterprise. And that's still the case with Rotterdam Festivals. And we had a lot of success, I think, during all those years, because Rotterdam became the festival city of the world last year, as you will know.
IFEA World Festival and Event City, top in its category worldwide. Yes. So, Wim, what did you see when we talk about this balance between the festival model in Europe and the festival model in the United States? We threw them into this box and stirred them up into a melting pot.
Yeah.
And what did each one bring to the mix? What was good about this combination of the two things?
Well, I think the enthusiasm of the Americans, for example.
Oh, we are enthusiastic.
Always, always. And as we saw recently, the presentation of the French of Nice,
yes.
Because you imported a lot of our European festivals,
yes.
And made it yourself, made it an American festival.
Yeah.
So we went back to the beginning. A lot of festivals started in Europe, and we forgot that we had this history. Mm-hmm. And in Rotterdam, as Hans already mentioned, after the World War, we were looking for a new theme, a new issue to bring Rotterdam back on the map. And so we learned a lot of, when we joined IFA these days, we learned a lot of your expertise, of course, the way you organized your festivals. And as Hans already said, it was formally organized and subsidized by the local governments. And now you see an active role of the business community and also from enterprises. So it is a melting pot in these days, at this moment, of the things we learned from the Americans, because it brought in commercial advertisements, for example. 20, 30 years ago it was impossible that we we should sponsor our events
True.
because it was divided, and now it's a usual part of our festivals. When the local government subsidizes festivals, they say, and what do the companies bring in? It's a big difference. So that we learned from your organizations.
So it's a good balance then
Absolutely.
between the cultural aspects of
Yes,
Europe and
yeah.
the commercial aspects of America.
Absolutely.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Martin, you actually had an office in the United States and
Yeah.
set up one of the very first cross-cultural, cross-border cooperations between
Yeah.
Europe and the United States.
But I think there was a big difference between the IFA USA and Europe, because everything in the USA was a festival.
Yes, we do.
You have a street festival.
We have a sofa festival.
We don't have a street festival. The Blossom White Festival, the Garlic Festival,
Right.
all
Cherry
festivals.
blossom. Yes.
And when I was in El Paso, around about 25 years ago, 30 years ago,
86, does that sound
maybe,
about right?
maybe, yeah, we had in Rotterdam maybe 1 or 2 festivals. And now everything in Rotterdam is also a festival. But you see the festival with the film and the summer festival, everything is a festival.
In the port.
Yeah. And another thing is, when I was in the business, a long time ago, what Wim said, the government never paid for us. We had to do it by ourselves. And that is a big difference between 30 years ago and at the moment. I think that's a good work done by IFEA, European Festival Europe Association.
Yes. Chris, you came from the commercial side of things, from catering and everything. What do you see when we started this European first affiliate of North America? I mean, what did you hope for from all of this?
Well, in the first place, I was in the board, was a member of the board of the Chamber of Commerce, representing the employers of restaurant and catering, etc. And the Chamber of Commerce, as Hans told a few minutes ago, was interested in a potential market of events. And they said, well, there is a convention in El Paso and later on in Pittsburgh. Go over there and find out what the intention is of such a convention. What I learned there, and you mentioned it, or Bruce mentioned it, was networking. Networking. And especially to involve the smaller employers organizations in having such an event. So I went to El Paso, where I learned a lot of things, but most I learned in Pittsburgh last time about
Pittsburgh
how
was
you
fantastic.
yeah, fantastic, really, especially the fireworks.
Especially.
But Zambelli. But what I learned there, that the organization of the different types of catering, you have to point it out to your aim groups, to the several groups, the VIPs, the normal people, official part, etc. So we did it in Rotterdam in the World Trade Center, and we decided to do it everywhere in that building was something. And what they are talking about still now is the whiskey bar in the captain's lounge. People who were invited there still talking about it.
Yes, I
But
remember that.
everybody who was important and has to do something with festival organization was invited there, and that's the summit of networking. And that's what you're pointing out this night as well. I think that's very, very important to do something for everybody, whether it's an important one or a normal people.
So Hans, when we started this, I think you as the father thought that what we could create was this association in Europe that would be able to combine the best of each side of the Atlantic with the cultural aspects of Europe, which America could use more of, and the commercial side of America that dealt with corporate sponsorship and profit centers and new marketing ideas, which, because you were so heavily government funded, you hadn't ever had to develop as a concept. And do you think we've succeeded? Are there some examples you could give us of how this idea exchange has occurred across the Atlantic?
Yes, it had a lot of success, I think. We see it today in this city, how festivals and events are organized and how they are blooming and growing. We learned that commercial side from the United States, and our own identity and culture was brought in as well. And the combination of that makes that it's rather unique in our country and all over Europe in this field. And IFEA Europe has never been very strong. There is another organization.
That one that we won't talk about.
It's still a little bit divided, that world. But the combination of commercial and cultural, yes, that combination is unique and is very important for now and for the future. And then, it's already said, the network function of IFEA Europe is essential. We have seen tonight again people talking to each other, making appointments, making deals, coming together and bringing the festival industry further.